everybody. My name is Keely Spring. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California. And today I have with me Sarah. Sarah and I recently met at a networking event, actually, for therapists at a bowling alley, which was fun. Uh,
Mm.
and so, Sarah, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself, what your niche is, kind of what populations you work with, where you're located.
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm Sarah, licensed marriage and family therapist. Keely and I met at a bowling event, and I was so impressed by your sparkly personal bowling ball that you brought with you. So cool. I tried to use it, but my knuckles were too big. Um, so I see mostly individuals, ages 13 plus. So I'm actually really enjoying seeing adolescents and teens recently. And my main modalities are AEDP, Accelerated Experiential Dynamic Psychotherapy. My previous, I know it's kind of,
Mouthful.
my previous supervisor was really into it. She recommended several books by this woman named Diana Fosha, one of which was called It's Not Always Depression. And it just really resonated with me. It's very somatic. I mean, I think there's a lot of crossover with a lot of these modalities. And so it's a lot of, you know, dual, what's it called, dyadic regulation, being with the client. I also am trained in EMDR, so I'm really enjoying bringing that into my clinical work as well. And then lastly, I think when I was in grad school, ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, like the values piece has been this rock for me of, okay, does this next decision in my personal life fit with my personal values? And it just, if it's a yes, then it's a yes. If it's a no, it's like if something is almost right, but not quite right, then it's actually not really right for me. So those are kind of the main three that I use. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're definitely going to dive into some of those because I haven't even heard of the first one that you mentioned. So I'm excited to learn about that. And Sarah, just for the audience, I believe you're here in San Francisco as well as Marin.
Yes, so I see clients in Corte Madera during the week, and then I'm renting an office in San Francisco on Sundays. And then I actually have clients all throughout California because I'm originally from Southern California. So I have some clients down there, went to school down there. So yeah, all over California.
Oh, right. I think we talked about this at the bowling alley. Is it San Diego?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Originally from there. So I remember that about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's start kind of at the reason you decided to become a therapist. Why did you decide this was the path?
Yeah. It's such a good question. I actually sort of resisted becoming a therapist for many years. Um, I first started going to therapy around 12 or 13 when my parents were going through a divorce. And then, so that was court mandated. But then by 15 or something, I was like, I liked that. Can I go back? And then I've kind of had a therapist for on and off. I mean, obviously, many different therapists at this point, and just always really found so much value in it. But actually, I wanted to be an actress. And then I got really into improv comedy and stand-up comedy. I also had a phase where I was teaching a lot of yoga. So I've kind of been on this journey. And then right before I decided to go to grad school to become a therapist, I was thinking about coaching, like online coaching, very similar to therapy. Um, but I just wanted something a little bit more structured. And I was very familiar with the setup of, what a therapist does, what kind of office they work in. I also, I worked at this wellness clinic in my mid to late 20s. I worked for a chiropractor actually, but there was this woman that would come in. She runs an office there a couple days a week. And I was like, wow, she seems really happy. And she would bring her kids in as well. And I'm like, they seem really happy and well adjusted. And so I got to know her a little bit, and she was a therapist. Her name's Dr. Cassidy Freitas. And so I was just like, huh, she seems to have it together. She seems to have a life that I would like, and that she just, yeah. So I felt like, okay, I've tried the acting thing, I've tried the holistic yoga spiritual thing, I've tried the coaching thing. Why, like, okay, it's therapy, turns out.
That kind of deeper experience.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that journey. That's such a, it feels very organic. And to your point about coaching, because I do leadership coaching, but it does feel like the Wild Wild West sometimes because there isn't a lot of structure, or
Feel
there can be.
unregulated. So the
Yeah.
part of me, like there was a part of me that loved that, like, oh, anything's possible. But then there was another part that was a little scared of like, anything's possible. Like there's no boundaries or guidelines. So I'm really inspired that you're doing both at this point too. That's something I could imagine doing in the future as well.
Yeah, they're complementary certainly, but I agree with you. I love the structure and the actual like I focus a lot on my coaching work and or I frame it a lot like I frame therapy work, and I love that kind of structure that you're talking about of, the rules and the
Yeah.
boundaries.
Boundaries.
Therapists and boundaries.
Yeah.
So what do you, I mean, this ties nicely. What do you like about therapy?
Yeah, so I think I just love having real, honest conversations about what's actually happening in the moment. So I enjoy noticing subtle shifts in expression and tone and body language and being able to reflect those back and have it be welcome. Like they're actually paying me to be there with them and notice those types of things. So it just feels like something that has always been an inherent skill and joy that, in like I've learned over the years, not everybody wants to have deep conversations all the time. So I've got good boundaries around that now, but it is just that it just makes me feel more connected to myself, more connected to humanity. It regulates my own nervous system. Even when a client is dysregulated and needing someone to dyadically regulate them back down, I still just, I was talking to therapist friends last weekend about this. Like, I just love this job. I can't believe we get to do this job, even though there are hard parts about it. But I just really love connecting with people in this way.
Hmm. Yeah. I do think what you're speaking to is kind of one of the beautiful parts of the job that we do, and this being a witness and a guide and a support for people as they're in these spaces is just so powerful. And to your point, I think there is this perspective that therapists get because we hear so many things that it really kind of puts our own lives into perspective and what we want and how we show up in the world. So,
And I just remember when I was around 25 doing stand up in LA. I had moved to LA and that was my full gig, working at a comedy club, going around doing stand like 5 open mics a night. And it felt so good to connect with people and see them smile and laugh and responding to me. But afterwards, I would feel a little empty of like that was kind of a one-way giving. I was sort of um, sharing myself and I saw them smile and I saw their expressions change, but I didn't quite feel connected as one. I think, that was just a sign. Like I still love stand-up comedy to this day, and have a lot of friends that are stand-ups and whatnot. But for me, like my nervous system just wanted something slightly different. But it's a
yeah,
similar feeling about what feels good,
yeah.
about comedy and therapy, actually, for me.
Yeah, I get that. There are actually even I love stand-up comedy as well, and I've come across some that are therapists that do
Yes.
stand-up. Do you still sometimes dabble in stand-up?
So, around the same time I was doing stand-up, I also discovered improv, which is a team sport, kind of like SNL or Whose Line Is It Anyway? And so, improv really kind of stole my heart, and I've been doing it for the past like 15 years. I discovered it my last semester in college. I was a theater major, and I was like, wait, you don't have to memorize anything? Like, great. And it's actually similar because what makes an improv scene the best, in my opinion, is when the two players on stage are really tuned in with each other, reading the micro expressions on each other's faces, really listening to each other. So that's the type of comedy that has stuck with me all these years. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm a big fan of improv as well.
It's so fun.
I don't know if I'd have the wherewithal though to be in it, but I get what you're talking about. Like you can see when they're really connecting and they're really kind of feeding off of each other versus when there's kind of this like,
Right. When you're in fact, like also have studied yoga modalities. I'm trained to teach hatha and kundalini yoga and meditation and all of these things. But I think actually the times I have felt most present have been on stage during an improv scene because if you let your brain in at all, then you could miss a really vital piece of information that was said on the stage. So you have to just sort of like put it all away and just be right here present in this moment. So yeah, I find improv to be extremely healing. I love it so much.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I like how you frame that. I don't think I'm going to watch SNL the same way.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned this at the beginning, but maybe we can dive in a little bit to those modalities that you mentioned and some of the terminology around them. Is there one that you'd like to start with that we could kind of explore?
Yeah, I would say that EMDR is the modality that I'm feeling most excited about. I did my training in the last couple of years, and I'm just getting to the point where I really feel like it's settled in, and I can see when it would be most helpful using the the dual attention stimulation or bilateral stimulation. And it's just been so amazing. I've been actually doing it on myself to some degree of like, if I'm noticing myself get to like a 6, 7, 8 of distress out of something, I'm like, okay, what is the negative cognition here? What would be a preferred cognition? And then I'll do some bilateral stimulation and can typically get the distress to come down. So I I don't know that every therapist is like this, but I feel so much more comfortable and excited to share tools that I have used on myself and that have worked with myself. I think there's that saying that like doctors don't need to have had cancer to treat cancer, but I'm kind of like, right. But when it comes to I want to actually know what it feels like to do a lot of these things, and especially having been in therapy for so long myself. Um, yeah, I'm really loving EMDR right now for that reason.
Fair. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. I think, that's one of I think it's important for us to try. So I always say, like, I wouldn't give you something that I wouldn't try or haven't tried myself, because I think that's important that you trust that I'm not just making this up, that it'll help. I know it will. Could you explain some of the terminology that you just shared with about EMDR? Because you mentioned a couple things that I don't know that the audience are going to actually know what that means. I mean, I've heard them before, but for people that might not, could you kind of break down
Yes.
some of those?
I'd love to. Sometimes I forget that therapists speak a little bit of a different language. So dual attention stimulation, the acronym is DAS, is actually the same as bilateral stimulation. That acronym is BLS, and it's when you are stimulating two sides of your body. So you could do butterfly taps.
Mhm.
You could do, oftentimes, especially with telehealth, my client is following my fingers like this, and it's trying to mimic REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, which I've been doing more research on. The brain is so amazing, and I feel like there is so much more we don't know about it than what we do know. But it does seem like this particular modality, we're trying to get into that like reprocessing stage of the brain that the brain already does during REM sleep,
Mhm.
but in a much more conscious way. Because with dreams and what happens during sleep, it's unconscious. But with EMDR and either bilateral stimulation or dual attention stimulation, which are the same thing, we're trying to bring that up and I almost think of it as like rewriting the code in the brain.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And so with the people in person, so you mentioned kind of the when you're doing it on video, I know that there's different, clickers and things like that. Can you just kind of describe that a little bit to what those look like in person?
Yes. So I've actually been the client of somebody who had paddles.
Uh-huh.
So it was like two little things that you held and each one would buzz. You can also, during my training, there was this thing where a ball goes across the screen that you
Oh,
can
I've seen that.
follow. So it's I actually love that we can get creative with it and see what works the best. Some of the supervisors I've had with EMDR, that is like their main thing. So they've really invested in paddles or tools like that.
Mhm.
I'm kind of enjoying seeing some clients really like this, some really like following my fingers with their eyes. Sometimes they're like, oh, that hurts my eyes. Let's do the other thing. So um, yeah, I like sort of working with the client to figure out what's going to work best for them.
Yeah, I love that. It's like the way that improv is kind
Yeah, like, oh, that didn't work. Let's go to the next idea.
of for sure. And do you do this with, you mentioned working with kids and adults. Do you do it with both?
I actually have not brought it in. So the youngest I work with is 13. And I haven't brought it in with any of them yet, but it has crossed my mind. And when I've been in group supervisions for EMDR, I've heard other people talking about bringing it in with younger people. I even had a client yesterday who is 17, just turned 17, but was talking about a car accident like 6, 7 years ago that seemed to be underneath some anxiety she's experiencing today. And so, of course, that's like perfect EMDR material. So I'm thinking about going forward with that, consulting with some other people that have done it with younger people,
Yeah.
and just kind of see. I mean, it's a really safe modality. That's what I really love about it is that if the client reports in the session, this is too much right now, I don't want to go there right now, we can just close it on up, put it in the container, go to safe place, reconnect with each other. So that makes me feel very safe that I'm not going to hurt them, even if we try something and it doesn't maybe land with them.
Yeah, that's one of the things actually I do love about EMDR. It is really about containment and safety and making sure people are in that window of tolerance and they can tolerate the distress of whatever it is that they're
Totally.
medicine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then could you just, so you mentioned, excuse me, you mentioned ACT. I love ACT too for the values that you mentioned. So I think that one kind of is clear for people of what that is. Is there anything else that you would add about ACT in terms of?
I mean, ACT has a lot of worksheets,
Okay.
and there's a part of me that loves a worksheet.
Yeah.
Although, like when I was a teen in therapy and my therapist would give me worksheets, I just feel like, more homework. Like
Sure.
I'm like, oh, let's do a worksheet. Um, so actually, I like with the ACT, there's a lot of putting pen to paper. And like with a values assessment rating form, a
Mhm.
part of me really loves like, okay, let's put a number on this. How important is this to you? And how successful do you feel you're being at this? And then we just look for discrepancies there. So I find it actually works really well with clients that are more cognitive, more like software engineer types.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, I can see the difference in these numbers. And if it's something really important to me and I feel not successful at it, then we want those numbers to get closer together. So as much as I love the fuzzy body somatic stuff, I'm more than happy to be like, let's do a worksheet and see what the numbers say. Use like a data analysis lens
Yeah.
to emotions because I think they're not like they might not seem like they're in the same family of concepts, but I have seen them work quite well together. So
Yeah.
I love that ACT provides tools like that.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
ACT comes a little bit along the lines of the CBT or the cognitive behavioral. So there are, yeah, to your point, a lot of worksheets. And I think what you're speaking to too is it really kind of depends on who's coming into the room of what tool you use with them or what modality you might use with them.
Right. Right. And like it could be the same person that needs different things on different days. I'm a prime example of that. Some days I really want to be held emotionally and validated and heard. And other days I'm like, okay, so what's the plan? Okay, I feel validated. And I think doing a lot of inner child work has helped with that. Like with all the parenting research I've read with Dr. Becky and all of these different things, it's like children basically need two things. They need validation that what they're experiencing is okay, and they also need boundaries and direction. And so I find that with a lot of clients, like sometimes we spend the whole session validating, and then the next session they're like, okay, I feel validated, especially by you, so that they know I'm not judging, like we're not trying to fix anything, but also, what are the next steps here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. And just to kind of close the loop, the third one, I'm totally gonna butcher the acronym. So
So it's called AEDP, Accelerated Experiential Dynamic Psychotherapy. Um, and it's a newer model, and it's this woman who's written several books on it. I have I saw it once or twice on a listservs so far in the last few years of someone looking for somebody with that modality. So I was like, oh, maybe other people know about it too.
yeah.
But yeah, my previous supervisor slash employer was really into this modality, and it really is just deep, deep listening.
Mhm.
So I would say I always start there. Like I like to see clients for a more longer term model. And so I want to get to really know them.
Sure.
And I find that deep listening really helps with that. And sometimes that is the treatment in itself, is they just need someone to really deeply listen, validate, reflect, and then their symptoms start to improve. Sometimes that's used as a way to build rapport, and then we'll bring in ACT or EMDR. But that's kind of what AEDP stands for, is just deep listening, dyadic attunement, dyadic regulation.
Hmm. And for people that might not know dyadic.
It means two people, or it just means two. Like a dyad is any group of two things.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. I was just trying to thinking of people who I know listen who are like, yeah, I didn't know that term, Keely. And I'm like,
I know. Thank you for helping me clarify. I
yeah,
want people to understand for sure.
for sure. Okay, so you were kind of speaking to this, but what would a typical session look like? Obviously, it's going to depend on who's there and what they need in the moment, but
Right.
I know EMDR tends to get its protocol, right? There's like 12 protocols or whatever. For you, kind of how do you structure your sessions?
Yeah. So every session starts with time connecting and attuning first. So I just want to make sure that everybody feels safe and understood. And as much as I love the boundaries and structure of something like EMDR, sometimes I've even had clients that I do both talk therapy and EMDR with, where we had planned the next session to be at EMDR, and they're like, "I'm so sorry, but this huge thing could just happen. Can we just talk about it first?" And I'm like, "Sure, absolutely." Um, so yeah, it starts with connecting. Usually, multiple times throughout the session, I'm asking them to slow down, tell me what their body is saying. I think it's not that the body or the somatic, which just means body piece, is more important than the cognitive or thoughts, thinking piece. It's just that it's just as important a piece of data. So I'm regularly asking, like, as you're telling me this, can we just pause and you tell me what's going on with your body? And usually it's something in this area of, oh, my throat feels really tight right now, or I feel tears behind my eyes.
Mhm.
And so that will typically guide us where we need to go that day. So I almost think of the client's nervous system as the map of what they need that day. And then sometimes, especially if we start early enough in session, I'll suggest, okay, this seems like it could fit really nicely in an EMDR framework. Would you be interested in that? Sometimes I do a lot of inner child work as well. So asking, like, I'll use myself as an example, like, what do you think little Sarah needs right now? Like, does she need a hug? Does she need to be protected? So I'm very comfortable guiding people into guided meditations and visualizations. Um, and yeah, other times it's okay. What do your values say about this? Or I like with ACT as well the party metaphor of, like, it sounds like uh there's an emotion here at the party that we'll call like Aunt Thelma or something, who really wants to be heard. Like she really needs attention. She's really anxious. She's really whatever. And rather than being like, Aunt Thelma, you can't come to the party, it's just like, how can we soothe Aunt Thelma? Get her a drink, get her set up on the couch. Like, you can be at the party, but you can't ruin the party.
Okay.
Or like same thing with the analogy of driving the bus. Like, is Aunt Thelma driving the bus? Because she's really dysregulated right now. She can be on the bus, but we need kind of wise self, capital S self, to be the one driving the bus.
Yeah, I love that. I love that framing. And to your point, I love somatic work. I am trained in Hakomi, and I find, at least here in the Bay Area, I wonder if you find the same thing too. Everybody thinks there's a good portion of people that are in their heads, right? And so when you bring it down to the body, there's just so much information that is stored there that we're just not accessing, which can
Yeah,
help that regulation and those pieces that you're talking about.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so moving on here a little bit. What is something that surprises you about therapy still?
Yeah, I feel like I'm surprised often. Kind of similar with improv, like you just don't know what each session is going to be like. And I think I'm continually surprised by how unique each person is. Even when two people have been through similar situations, the way they process and heal could be totally different. And so I think it's just a constant reminder for me to go into the session with a beginner's mind of like, I might think I know. And beginner's mind is a Buddhist term, which is like each time you go to meditate, each time you go to do anything that you've done millions of times before, how can I sort of set that aside for a new experience to actually be present and to actually be listening to what is happening in session? So I think that is continually surprising to me of, oh, wow, okay. And then usually we'll get into their genogram, which is, a map of their family, where we look at things like alliances and cutoffs between family members and histories of mental illness or, addictions, anything like that. And it's like, oh, sometimes what I feel like I'm doing with clients is building a map with them of their life so far so that we can figure out, like, oh, you're experiencing so much anxiety right now about this relational thing with your partner. When was the first time you experienced that? And so that anxiety, that relational anxiety could look similar between two clients, but what it's rooted in could be different for each of them. So I
Yes.
like just treating each person as a unique masterpiece, a little snowflake,
I love it.
which they are. I mean, it's a, I think I've heard this quote that's like, it's hard to hate people close up.
Yes.
It's like, it's really easy to love them close up. So the vast majority of the time, I'm just like, wow.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I'm so impressed with how far you've gotten based on how much pain you've been through.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too, sometimes people come in really defended into
Yeah.
sessions, right? And there's almost like this gruffness or this kind of like curmudgeon attitude or something. And then you get below it and you're like, oh, there you are.
Are you're coming in. That's so
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. And then you can actually do, some really good work.
Totally, totally.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything that you wish people knew or understood about therapy?
Yes. I think that I wish that people knew that it's not as scary as a lot of people think. Like therapists are not trying to uh shame you or like bring up pain to be like, see, this is what's wrong with you. I will say the history of psychotherapy with like psychoanalysis, it kind of was more like that, where the client was laying on the couch and the analyst is behind them, just being like, this is what's wrong with you, and blah, blah, blah. So I can understand why people have that preconceived notion of what it would be like. But the vast majority of therapists, they don't want to hurt you or like shame you or anything like that. We want to help you move through that. And I think the hardest part is often just finding the right therapist.
Yeah.
And again, your body can be a great tool in that. So if you do a consult with a therapist and you hang up the call and it's just like, I mean, they have good qualifications and they seem like, they know what they're talking about, but I just feel sort of like really tight in my chest and throat right now.
Mhm.
That might be a sign that you need somebody with a slightly different approach.
Yes.
And that's totally okay. Like it's so much about the fit.
Yes, it really is a catalyst for these interviews, finding the different styles that are out there. And then I think too, people can change, right? So say you go to a therapist and you realize that it's not a right fit, you're a couple sessions in, it's okay to change and go to somebody else, and find the fit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And that I would never want to work with a client who feels um, uncomfortable with me in any way.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I want to be a safe space. So if anything about how I present triggers you, whatever, like that's totally fine. Then I'm not the person for you. And I want you to find the person that's right.
Yes. 100% agree. Okay, so final question in this kind of clinical area. Do you have a tool that we could share with the audience that might be useful for people to use?
Yes. Honestly, this might sound kind of nerdy, but I think scaling questions are extremely helpful.
Mhm.
Again, like kind of putting numbers on what we're experiencing. So oftentimes in session, I'll say, okay, let's pause. Like I'll notice some shifting, I'll notice some dysregulation building, and I'll say, what out of 10 right now, if 0 is not anxious at all and 10 is like I'm about to have a panic attack, where are you on that scale? And they'll be like, I'm a 7 or an 8. And it's like, okay, great. let's put down what we're doing and just get back in the body. And so that's when I'll use tools like the 5 4 3 2 1 mindfulness technique, which I use all the time for myself included. And so usually I'll say, okay, please look around your space and tell me 5 red things that you see. And then all of a sudden their brain is tasked with a new thing rather than what they're anxious about. It's like, okay, I see there's red in that painting, that book, that crystal, that other painting, and that plant. And it's like, okay, now tell me 4 textures that you can feel. And so, okay, my desk is smooth and cold. My pants are kind of rough and corduroy. My water bottle is smooth and metal, and my mouse is like plasticky. I'm going into closing your eyes, 3 things that you can hear. So I hear my fan, I hear traffic outside, and I hear my own voice. Um, the smell one. So the next one is to take a deep breath. I have found that a lot of clients are stuffed up.
The smell is hard. I did this with a client yesterday, and they were like, I don't know. And I was like,
And I'm like, you can sniff stuff. Like,
I was like, hair, you smell?
right. Like, okay, like shampoo.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll skip that, especially I have clients I know that are like always kind of stuffed up. What that actually comes up clinically as well, because I'm like, are you getting deep breaths?
Right.
A lot of oxygen. It's kind of neither here nor there. And then last one, the taste. And by the time we get through all 5 of those senses, I will re-ask the scaling question. So if they start at a 7, they are almost always at a 5 or 4 by the time we're done with that. And
Mhm.
if it hasn't changed, I'll go into another grounding tool. So, yeah, I think scaling questions, grounding tools, they're not the work itself, but they keep you within your window of tolerance so that you can do the work.
Yes. Yes. Love it. Love it. 100%.
Yeah.
Those. That's great. Okay, so Sarah, thank you for sharing some of the clinical expertise. Are you ready to be seen by the audience as a little personal note?
Ready.
All right, so we're going to ease on in with what is making you happy right now?
Yes. Um, so I've been listening to this podcast called Good Hang with Amy Poehler.
Oh, I love Amy Poehler. Yeah.
Yeah, so she is just, I mean, again, as a comedy nerd, she's just so amazing. I've always loved her friendship with Tina Fey, and then she also has these long-term female friends and male friends from SNL. So she's had Rashida Jones and Tina Fey, and I just listened to Natasha Lyonne, Seth Meyers, and it's just, it feels like the right mix for me of depth because she asks deep questions of like, what made you want to do comedy? And then also she asks a similar question of what's making you laugh and actually zone out right now. And I do like kind of the lightness of it. Sometimes I'm listening to more clinical type podcasts and audiobooks and whatnot, but maybe it's the summertime, maybe it's just the heaviness of a lot of what's going on in the world and what our clients are dealing with that I feel like I spend a lot of my off time trying to lighten my mood.
I get that. I
Yeah.
get that. I sometimes think you could either laugh or cry. I'd prefer to laugh if I can.
Why not both?
Why not both? Sometimes it's a little bit of both.
Totally. I actually tried this thing a couple of years ago because I was experimenting with anger. I feel like anger is a very misunderstood emotion, unappreciated emotion. And because a lot of us have seen it expressed in kind of violent ways, but it doesn't have to be expressed violently. And so I was in the car and I was noticing anger come up. I think I had been cut off or something. And I was like, okay, rather than pushing this down, I'm just going to try to be as angry as I can. Just like driving.
Love it.
I'm so angry. I'm so angry. But I very quickly just started laughing because it was just like, okay, I don't really feel angry anymore. Now I'm just this crazy person who's like, ah! So I kind of like, I just, what emotions want to do is move.
Yes.
Like in my Kundalini yoga teacher training, the teacher would always talk about emotions, think about them as like energy in motion, emotion. They just want to move and be processed through. So whether I need to cry or laugh or make art or whatever it is, I just want to like pause and be with that rather than always like, oh, I don't want to feel this negative emotion. I got to get back to the positive because that's in my experience what leads to any sort of addiction It's
Hmm.
like, "Oh, I don't want to feel this anymore. I'm going to use this substance behavior person to make it go away," which sounds like a great solution, but that emotion doesn't go anywhere. It usually just gets bigger inside.
It's that kind of toxic positivity too, right? The
Totally.
that we have to always be positive and always be happy and always, it doesn't allow that space for
I
growth.
find myself so much happier when there are days when I'm not happy.
Yes, I hear you. I
In
hear you.
general, in life, I just feel like even if sadness comes, it's not going to ruin my whole day. I can just be with it for 30 minutes to an hour, process it, and then get on with my day.
Yes. And I love too that you brought up anger. I'm sure you're probably familiar with Gabor Mate's work.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
I love when the body says no, and he talks a lot about this idea of anger, especially with women, that we need to be expressing it more to let it kind of get out and be processed rather than holding it.
Right, right. Like I think of anger as just the body saying like stop,
Yeah.
stop. And yeah, I mean when I think about the femme experience throughout history of just the various ways we've been violated and the various ways that we haven't been safe to say stop. I think we are in a place now where, you know, we can say stop more. And that's just I wish it was even further along as it is, but it is, I think a lot of us have inherited this generational trauma of like, you have to just sort of absorb
Yes.
bad male behavior or just bad behavior in general. And it's like, no, you don't actually. You can just walk away.
Yeah. Gabor Mate always says women are the shock absorbers of the world, that we absorb all the bad that's out there, because we're the helpers
Yeah.
and the pleasers and so.
Yeah.
Okay, slight detour.
Yes.
Uh, what is your favorite app?
Okay, so I've been using this app called Finch,
Oh,
self-care app.
it's like a care for the bird thing. I've heard of this. Yes.
Yep.
So can you tell the audience like what it is?
I love it so much. So, my friend introduced it to me like 6 months ago, and I already was using like a habit tracker app. I was diagnosed with ADHD in my earlier life, and so having habit tracking and mindfulness has really helped me like my ADHD doesn't really impede my life the way that it has in the past. But with Finch, it's more than just like you see the circle closing from you repeating or like completing the task. It's that you each time you complete something, you get rainbow stones, which is
Oh,
like dollars. And so then you get to use those to buy new outfits for your bird or to buy gifts for your friends on the app or to send your bird on a trip. So it's just like gamified self-care. I was never into video games when I was little. Like it just wasn't part of my family's culture. And so I feel like this is the closest I've gotten to like, oh, I get to care for this thing. And yeah, and you have like anonymous friends on there. So
okay.
you can just sort of send each other good vibes. So I would say it's the app that I spend the most time on
Fair
right
enough.
now.
I love it. I have to check it out. I've definitely heard about it.
It's really cute.
Okay, so beach or mountains?
I think I'm more of a mountains girl.
Okay.
Grew up in San Diego, so I spent a lot of time at the beach, love the beach, but
Yeah.
there is something about driving in the mountains, being with the trees, especially up here with the redwoods.
Mhm.
Um, it's also there's more shade, it's
Yeah.
cooler. As somebody that gets kind of hot fast at the beach, sometimes it's like, oh my God, it's
It's just sand and hot.
and I'm hot and I gotta get in the water. So I love both. I'm up for both, but I do find my heart and soul being a little more called to the mountains at this point.
Fair enough. Okay, what is one thing that movies never get right?
Um, well, I think
There's a lot of things, but
a lot of things. I mean, I'm thinking of like Disney movies specifically and this whole idea of Prince Charming that's going to come save you and that real love will solve everything. I just think that that has set a lot of us up for weird expectations when it comes to romantic relationships. Um, and also like the bad boy thing or the bad partner thing that like oh, if they're ignoring you, if they're too cool for you. I mean, it's also a trope in like romance novels of like the enemies to lovers thing, where, we hate each other, but now we love each other. And I think that can work only if there was never like a breach of disrespect or
Or,
something.
yeah.
So I wish that movies would be a little bit more realistic about how true, safe, secure love and attachment is a little more boring.
Yeah.
Like the butterflies, I mean, we've all heard this now, is like usually a sign of anxiety. Your nervous system recognizing like, oh, this is a similar type of person I felt really invalidated with in the past, usually in my family or something. So I'm gonna go out with them hoping for a new result. Like I'll really win their love this time. And I just think it'd be easier for a lot of us to give up on that idea if it wasn't sort of constantly, even movies, but also songs. It's all just like, I can't live without you. You're my everything. You complete me. It sounds romantic, I guess, but I don't see it leading people to like healthy attachment.
Yeah, I guess for me too, hearing you like it is such a uh all or nothing framing, right? Like it's either like 100% this amazing fireworks and all this stuff or nothing.
Mhm. Right.
So like, when reality is like you might have moments of those, I don't know, intense kind of feelings or whatever, but they aren't going to last throughout,
Right.
a long relationship,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, what's the best way to relax?
I love this question. The first thing that comes to mind for me is that usually just putting my phone away. I'll set a timer on my phone for like 5 to 10 minutes, put it in a drawer,
Yes.
and just do nothing for
Yes.
that 5 to 10 minutes and just be with whatever emotion is with me, with whatever. And usually if I'm off my phone for that long, I'll think, you know what I actually would rather do today is practice guitar. Like I don't want to spend the rest of the day scrolling.
Okay. Yeah,
So I'm going to practice my guitar or I'm going to play with my cat or something. So it's not necessarily that those 5 to 10 minutes are relaxing in themselves, but they help me disengage from, I think a lot of us are just on our phones a lot. They help me disengage and then make a more relaxing choice.
yeah, love it.
Hmm.
Answer. Okay, what's a dream trip location?
So, I am actually going on this trip next month to Prague.
Oh, lovely. Oh, yes, I remember you actually brought this up. We talked a little bit about this.
Yes, and you had mentioned, I actually wanted to clarify which castle you had mentioned. Um,
Yeah, I think I was talking, we can talk offline, but I think I was talking about the house that is
House is in
in
front of the
front of
castle.
it's in front of a church so that the
Oh,
church wasn't charged or whatever. And then there's this famous clock that they, after the clockmaker, this is so brutal, but they gouged out his eyes so that he could never make it again, anywhere else. And so he went and destroyed the clock by putting his arms in it. You will see both
right.
because they're kind of in that main square area. But there is a giant castle as well, which is cool to check out.
Right. I think I started thinking about Prague because I wanted to go somewhere really fun for a holiday one year, like during December. And Prague, like the night markets there, like the Christmas night markets are supposed to be really, really beautiful. So I'm obviously not going to see them now since I'm going in August, but I kind of like the idea of just having a destination and going back to it a few times in
Yeah,
different seasons,
yeah,
just similar to with people, like the same location, the same person could be very different based on different times of going. So
yeah,
yeah, I've just had friends that have visited there. It's kind of a safe place to go as a single woman.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm just really excited to go
For
hang out.
sure. For sure. The other thing I remember about Prague is that it didn't get bombed during the wars. So that's why
Right.
it's like so intact and it's such a cool city to
Ah,
check out.
yeah.
You'll have a great time. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I'll have to talk afterwards and see see what your takeaways are. It's been a minute since I've been there, but so maybe
Right.
there's some new things you might recommend to check out.
Yeah.
I'm looking-
Yeah.
Okay, what advice would you give your younger self?
I feel like I talk to my younger self all the time with my inner child work. I would say, I think the main thing that comes to mind is just you got it, sweetie.
Oh,
Like, you got it. that your path is beautiful and circuitous, like has taken many turns. But it's your path and it's beautiful. And that I just want to like just be the best Sarah you can be. Like rather than trying to be some version of someone else, just figure out what Sarah needs. And that's valid and beautiful. And so I don't know if she would listen to me.
That's fair.
Like try to disregard the vast majority of what you perceive other people are thinking about you or approval or anything like that, and just spend as much as your energy as possible just taking care of like getting to know and taking care of this actual lovely being that I get to be the steward of.
I love it. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, out of the four seasons, which one do you like the best?
I think I'm a fall girl.
Yeah,
Yeah, just the crisp air. I mean, coming from San Diego,
not
there
much
was
at all.
yeah, there would be like 1 or 2 days where it was kind of colder in the morning, and it's just
Sure.
like I think it always felt like new possibilities, like
Yeah,
school starting, new season, Halloween.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because like that's kind of more the Gregorian calendar of that's when things start, but really kind of nature-wise, like spring is when things start.
sure.
But I think I don't know, I kind of like fall in the sense that you can kind of look back on everything that's happened since the spring and just like what have I harvested this year? What is going to the compost bin? What is what and then yeah, then the holidays come after it. So yeah, I think I like the autumn.
Yeah, yeah. It's my favorite as well. I can.
Yeah. And also pumpkin spice lattes. I didn't want to be that basic, but
I am picking up what you're putting down.
yeah.
Okay, so what would be the worst superhero power to have?
The worst superhero power to have. I've been reading a lot of fantasy recently, and I was reading Octavia Butler. She has written a lot of books. Wait, was it her or was it? Oh no, it was a different like dragon series. But all of these people did have superpowers. But if you were they called it an intrinsic, which is like a psychic that you can
Oh,
hear everything that everybody is thinking around you, that it actually it's not manageable. Like it's
funny.
just so I think yeah, not having any boundaries around your own thoughts and hearing everything, it's like I already feel like I'm feeling enough. And so the idea of reading other people's minds, I think also these days, since I've gotten so much into the inner child work and just sort of loving myself and validating myself regardless of external validation, I don't really care anymore about, what someone else is thinking about me or whatever. Like I'm much more concerned with how I feel and how I think. And so I think it would be hard to tune that out if you could just hear everybody's thoughts all the time.
So, like, yeah, yeah, I agree. Okay, what is an animal that resonates for you?
Well, I'm looking at my cat sleeping over there. And it's funny because I've been called both a cat and a golden retriever. In terms of personality wise, I think I have both.
Uh-huh.
What I really like about her, she's really cuddly. She loves to be with me. But when she wants alone time, she's not afraid to ask for that either. You know?
You
So
know
I
their
think,
mind.
yeah, yeah, she's soft, she's cuddly, but she also has boundaries and she's not a people pleaser or a cat pleaser. I don't know.
Well,
So, yeah, right now cats are really resonating, that they're sort of self-contained in a beautiful way, but also up for connection.
yes. Yeah, yeah. I love my little kitties as well. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so final question. When you look back at your life, what do you hope you're going to be able to say about it?
She was brave.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that I just want to feel like I followed the the whispers of my soul. That I got to know myself deeply and connected with myself deeply. And I think that if you had asked me this question maybe 10 years ago, I would say something more along the lines of like that I had a really strong impact on other people and that I helped other people. And those are true. But I just want to feel like I came here to be the best Sarah that I could be. Um, so I want to feel like as I'm, in my later years that I feel like I've done that to some degree. Like I have lived in LA and done comedy, and I have been a full-time yoga teacher, and I have done lots of travel on my own, and I have become a therapist, and I just want to feel like my time here was well spent and that I focused on joy.
Well, thank you, Sarah. You're officially seen.
Haley, thank you for seeing me and letting me see you a little bit as well.
Sure, for sure. And for anybody watching, I will include Sarah's information. But before we hop off, Sarah, is there anything else that you'd like the audience to know or be aware of?
Yeah, by the time they see this, this probably will have already passed, but I am running an inner child workshop in San Francisco on August 10th from 3 to 5 p.m. We're going to do a lot of what I've talked about here today, an inner child meditation, kind of meeting your inner child, also a worksheet. Like, what does your inner child need? It's so funny because my inner child is very easily pleased. Like, oftentimes she just needs a little bit of novelty. And so recently I took myself to go on a big bus tour of San Francisco because every time I would drive across the Golden Gate from Marin, I would see these big tour buses. And I just get the sense of like, that looks so fun. I want to do that. And so I did that recently. And it's it was just so delightful just to be like, wow, okay, a lot of people might say that that's very cliche or cringe or whatever, but my inner child feels like she was valued and her voice was heard. So yeah, we'll be doing a meditation, a workshop or a worksheet, and then some somatic kind of movement stuff. So that's like a one-off in person that I'm going to do in San Francisco, but I do have plans to create online courses similar to that, that's more passive content. Because as much as I love one-on-one therapy, I do love the idea of using a little bit more of a creative brain to create something like a course. I just feel like I have a lot to share that I can't possibly share with everybody if if I can only see a max of 8 clients a day, and that's too many in my opinion for me. Um, and so, yeah, I plan on creating courses along these lines, healing the inner child, recovering from narcissistic abuse in families, recovering from addictions, those types of things. They're all kind of um, the problems could be various, but the solution is almost always in the same direction of like, okay, coming back to self, getting to know yourself and your body and your mind. So be on the lookout for courses like that.
Love it. Love it. And I think we will get this out before then. So,
Okay, cool. Yeah.
all right. Well, thanks again, Sarah. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Keely.